I know how much dedication you have. I mean, the fact that you're 46 and still doing what 26-year-olds maybe can do is insane. But I know that you have a lot of dedication and that your whole day is around rehab, the training, the body and stretching and all the things. So like, where have I caught you at this moment today?
Today, well, I usually take my wife takes the kids to school, and I just went for a little exercise post-retirement. I'm in Tampa, Florida, and then spending some time with, people ask me, what do you do besides running? And what's the other hobby? Is spend time with family and friends. So I was just having a nice coffee, traditional Eritrean, Ethiopian coffee, which is usually not a Starbucks 30 minutes. It's usually a couple hours. So I'm at the halfway mark, and I said, I got to go talk to the Danica. So it's great to be with you.
What has that transition been like for you?
The transition from retirement is great to spend time with family and friends, but at the same time, sometimes we're so much into routines and goals and tight schedule. It's kind of like you feel guilty.
Really?
To be like, well, I should be doing this, because when you're a runner, whether, like you said earlier, whether you're doing therapy, whether you're doing massages, whether you're doing second run or cross training or weightlifting and all that stuff, your mind is taken away. And what you're eating and what you gotta have to prepare for or get ready for the next day, for the next week, for the next month, or for the next race, you're constantly thinking. But now it's like you were doing so many things, now it's kind of slowed down a little bit.
I mean, how much do you train now? I guess because training now is just your well-being as opposed to for a specific goal, which I'm actually curious, first off, how much different is that? Like, just for the regular human, right? That goes, how much training do you do for your health and well-being versus how much was for marathon training?
Danica, this is kind of crazy, but I used to train about 100 to 130 miles a week. So people often ask you, you're a runner, you run every day? And you're like, well, I run 12 times a week. So that puts it in perspective. But now, as a retirement for health, after I retire for maybe like 4 or 5 months, I was still running like 10 miles a day for 6-7 days a week. So I'm like, what am I doing this for again? And then you have to kind of scale it down to whether you want to run 5 miles or 4 miles and not feel guilty about it. Because before it was like my cool down after a 3-mile warm up, a hard workout, and then a cool down. Sometimes I do 3 miles, 4 miles, maybe 5 miles, so I can take the afternoon off to let the body recover. Now I'm running that much. What I used to do in cool down, I'm doing it for my health. So it's kind of different, because it was very intense, pretty intense, to be able to just be on the grind day in, day out, and get ready for competition, get ready for get into therapy or massage, or you're always on the go, because that time crunch is important to do that first run, recover and eat, and then do for the second run. So it's constantly thinking until you put your head on the pillow. You're constantly thinking, what can I do to better myself? And especially when sponsors and people are counting on you, you don't want to disappoint them, because you drive the car, but there's a team behind the team, and I run the 26.2 miles, but there's a team behind the team. So you don't want to disappoint them. You want to give them 110%. And sometimes it goes really well, and other times it doesn't, because mishaps happen or mistakes happen. But you should be grateful that you put 110%. So retirement now for health is good, because mentally it's difficult. Physically is okay, because I run 4, 5, 6 miles. I'm completely happy with that. Whereas 5, 6 days a week, if I could do it 7 days.
Your body is good with that, but your mind is saying,
your mind is like
lazy.
Exactly. Sometimes you see people, for the first time in my life, people are doing kind of more than I'm running. They're like, hey, I'm going to take the day off and not feel guilty. And they're like, I had a friend in San Diego. She's like, I'm not going to say who, but 2 of us ran and this guy did not run. Usually it's the other way around, saying, hey, can I get a pacer on the bike, or can I get somebody to give me fluid and things like that? You're working very hard. But now it's like, okay, I need to be on a chill mode. And then, so mentally that perspective has been different, but also I have to teach it, kind of relearn how to calm down and not, because for my life, for me, being an immigrant, education was important. So when I was at UCLA, until I get that UCLA degree, I was nonstop 8 o'clock class for 5 years, just go, 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 go. And maybe I missed 3 times or 4 times besides traveling from classes. So, and now you're going to be a professional athlete for 17, 18 years. That was intense to be able to just be on the grind day in, day out, because we didn't have seasons. It's not like 4 months and then you take off. Been a distance runners, you're constantly in the year round. So you kind of feel like a little bit of burnout. So you got to slow down and reteach yourself. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to not be your mind wander around to the next and the next thing.
Yeah. Do you remember where or what happened when you kind of hit that spot? Because I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that there's change, that doing something differently for a lot of people, it might be training more, but it's still a similar challenge emotionally and mentally. And so what happened? Was there like a breaking point or a moment that you remember going, okay, something needs to change? And was there a breakdown, or was it possibly some kind of slow progression?
Slow progression. I got to credit my wife, Jordanos, and she just says, sometimes you just got to breathe. You worked hard for the rest of your life. Now you need to kind of chill. But then another person, Cassandra Carr, she's part of the owner of the San Antonio Spurs. I remember she says, retirement is different. You're just doing something that you used to enjoy. It doesn't mean you stop doing everything. It just means you got to find something passionate that you are excited about. So I remember I was in San Antonio and having Howie, my brother and manager, he was there, and we were having at her house, just kind of relaxing, having a tea. And she says, Meb, retirement is just doing something different that you love. And you didn't have to stop but now you can go on your schedule, what you want to do, versus completely stop. And if you just try to completely stop, it's not great for anybody. It's not good for you mentally and physically. But if you do a little bit of something and a little bit of another thing, eventually passion will take over.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It's like anything. And there's like even some level of like an addiction almost to it, where, you don't just, cold turkey's a little dramatic. And so, having kind of that fade and that new transition and creating new habits is, part of the process of weaning off and sort of shifting your daily activities. So what were some things that you did that you always wanted to do? Maybe it was food, maybe it was travel, maybe it was, drinking alcohol, because all I know is training for this marathon. I'm like, in the last, because the marathon's a couple of weeks away. So I'm like, I have one glass of wine now and I feel terrible from it. I feel like my recovery is horrible. My sleep is garbage. There are things that, really change when you have that level of intensity of doing something. So I'm curious what those things were that you thought about maybe while you were training and in that intensity, that you thought, man, if I had time, or man, if I didn't have to do this in the morning, I would do it.
It's for me, getting up early in the morning, whether it was before flight or training schedule, you got to get that run in before going to the next flight, because it might be to Europe, or might be time zone changes and things like that. So I said, people want to meet. Hey, I'm recently moved to Florida a couple of years ago. They're like, you want to meet at 5:30, 6 o'clock? I'm like, nope. I don't want to set an alarm. I did that for college. I did that for my workouts. I don't want to do that. But someday I think I have a sweet tooth. So I love having a sweet tooth. And now I don't, when I was my birthday, I remember when I was at Mammoth Lakes, where I used to train in California at altitude, my kids and wife used to have a fruitcake for me. I cannot have sugar because I was in the middle of the season getting ready for it. So now I just say, I see dessert, I'll have it maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I don't hold back.